These are completely new real-time strategy games with base building I have never shown you before in any of my similar lists of new RTS games. So let's start with one of my future favorites, which is based on the older classic of the genre, but with its own special twist to the factions and story. Because in tactical warfare, humans are fighting their fellow humans, only these other ones are from a parallel universe and their Earth is no more, just space dust. So they came to our universe in hopes of finding a new home. Their obvious technological supremacy caused friction with their fellow humans and a deadly conflict began. The developers told me that there is even a possibility of a third faction being added later, and they have made this lovely cinematic trailer along with the teaser trailer showing actual gameplay. I am also waiting for a playable version from them so I can do a full showcase for you. But the important thing is that Tactical Warfare, or Rival Commanders as is the other name for this indie game, will feature both single player and multiplayer game modes. In fact, there will be a sort of a story mode based on individual missions, as well as a war skirmish mode where you customize everything to your preference. Add to that the Rival Commanders mode, which is about attacking with provided units using tactical expertise and has no base building, while the Siege Survival mode is all about defense against waves of enemies. Tactical Warfare is being made in the Unity game engine and there is a page on Steam for you to wishlist it. As for the units, there are combat vehicles including tanks, various aircraft and robots, besides regular soldiers. When building bases in this one, you can place down blueprints and don't have to wait for individual buildings to complete before adding more of them. Power production, harvesting and defensive buildings are already included features, but walls are not. Not yet anyway. This next game doesn't hide its inspiration at all, and its developers are aiming to recreate the fun but challenging nature of indirect unit control and kingdom management systems of an old classic, which did in fact get a sequel some years ago. So in Crown of Greed, they have taken Slavic mythology as the basis for a game world full of undead, werewolves, vampires, giant soldiers, and other horror-inducing creatures. These are spread through cursed lands, plains, forests, meadows, swamps, death marshes, and icelands. Developers also plan to add many procedurally generated gameplay elements to keep you entertained for several playthroughs. To entice mighty but highly independent heroes to do your bidding, protect your subjects, and clear the land of Rodovia from monsters, you will use systems of contracts and orders. This way you will not control, but rather gently direct dynamic combat between heroes and monsters across your kingdom, along with some magic thrown in. I personally always had a love and hate relationship with these types of games, and only lots of saving and loading saved me from gaining even more grey hair than I already have. Now for something totally different and definitely new without a throwback to old or classic RTS games. We have a highly stylized action-based RTS from a group of developers who are going with a completely monochrome art direction for their game titled Chaotic Era. This game was already in early access, so this new version is for the full release on Steam, and I got this footage directly from the developers. The gameplay is meant to be streamlined compared to your regular RTS games, and with a focus on intense, fast-paced action which will lead to quick and short matches between players or versus AI. In both the campaign and custom matches, you'll be able to play as the faction of humans or aliens, and the developers tell me both will have unique playstyles and strategies for us to explore. On one hand, both factions depend on energy for almost everything, but on the other hand, they have extensive and unique research systems. In essence, the story follows a human crew which is stranded on an alien planet after crash landing while in search of a new home for humanity and now fights for its very survival. The aliens are a species of interdimensional creatures who have mind-bending bioorganic warp technology, allowing them to create gateways and hunt humans as if they were predators from another universe. Every place you continue this fight on can be a new planet thanks to the game's procedural generation systems. It sure looks apart, and I can't wait to play it myself to figure out if it feels so different too. And for something that looks familiar but has a very different enemy facing humanity, let's now take a closer look at Repterra. Its indie developers have created a game world overrun by dinosaurs of all sizes, which will not suffer any human colonists in their land. This means that besides the base building and UI training mechanics, of which there are dozens of types, here we have survival gameplay at work, be that in the story or plain survival mode. As for the dinosaurs, they attack in waves up to 100,000 of them at once. This is why in the story mode you will have a tech tree to help you with new ways of surviving this onslaught. The short gameplay footage doesn't give us an example of the resource system, but we can spot power buildings as well as walls, so there is still a lot to discover about this game in the future. This is why I make regular showcase and gameplay overview videos of these kinds of games, which you can find on my playlist linked up here and down in the description. This next Indie RTS project has a unique bag of tricks as well, because in Flow of War, the developers decided to add automation to some gameplay elements so you can spend your time on other things, like extensive base building with lots of defenses and unit recruiting to find your most optimal army composition, while workers and soldiers will both build and protect your growing base. Some of this you can already try out as the game does have a demo on Steam. If we believe the developers, several single-player campaigns are planned with a twist of roguelike elements which shouldn't change the classic RTS formula too much. In addition to that, he plans to have 3 completely different factions, each with unique buildings, units, heroes and special features. The maps on which you will play Flow of War will offer multiple types of resources to gather, neutral factions to kick out of strategic locations, and special events to find and participate in. I hope the developer manages to pull off everything he has envisioned and that this one is as fun to play as it is to watch. A somewhat similar looking game, but channeling a different old school RTS by the looks and mechanics, is Shrot. It includes base building, unit production, defensive buildings, and lots of vehicular combat. I haven't seen any nukes, but it is still in development, so there is time. Its gameplay is based on fast action, procedurally generated battles, and 3 playable stellar clans, each with a different color. These are all new to the planet Sheza, which turned out to be an important source of a rare resource, and that has turned it into a battlefield. As the 3-sided war rages on, these factions, and us as the players, will discover yet another unique secret of this planet. You can expect battles to grow over time into vast conflicts with hundreds of units and thousands of casualties as you listen to the techno soundtrack and voice lines acted by the developer's mother. I don't know what took more courage, getting his mom to do this or posting about it publicly. Just kidding, it was probably an amazing bonding moment for the both of them. I also have to thank them for sending in this great gameplay footage specifically for this video list. And for more such lists covering almost 200 new RTS games, check out my playlist linked above or in the description below. Now in these lists I sometimes add a more tactical game or two, because I know that some of you like to take small squads into missions against overwhelming odds and come out on top. So here is another such game from a developer which already published a similar title some time ago and now chose World War II Poland as a setting for their next project named 63 Days. As you can see from this gameplay trailer, it is an isometric real-time tactics game, and the developers have promised it will bring new tactical options and improved gameplay compared to their previous game, along with what we can see here, which are even better graphics and an awesome atmosphere. Your squad of insurgents and freedom fighters will grow in number and power, with later missions allowing the use of heavy armor such as tanks. If you're a fan of such gameplay, I think you will enjoy this game very much.
Every day counts, but I'm not sure how many we have left.
This next game is a sequel of a well-received top-down tactical real-time war game, which goes full 3D this time, with combined arms combat during the Cold War era, but doesn't abandon its top-down camera roots and leaves it as an option. The most important feature of Armored Brigade II are absolutely gigantic maps, authentic and detailed command and control systems, as well as over 1000 ground and air units. The jump to 3D has allowed the use of line-of-sight mechanics with terrain and landscape blocking it. This is a game made for fans of military wargame simulators, but in such a way that it welcomes newcomers as well. The skirmish system especially allows players to create all sorts of custom battles in dynamic weather conditions and differently sized battles to learn the game's systems one at a time. You will need this training because orders and information in Armored Brigade II take time to be received and executed, influenced by factors such as training level, chosen doctrine, distance from HQ, and communication within unit formations. There will also be campaigns, both dynamic and linear ones, promising some storytelling elements. I personally rarely play games like this one, but I bet many of you enjoy them, so I hope this one will hit that right spot for you as well. For an RTS with much different scale and focus, we can look at God Brawl, which is in fact a mix between a God game and a real-time strategy. Firstly, you have the choice of playing one of several different gods and can capture shrines to unlock more powers to use or misuse. Then you have the followers, the people who live on your lands and who can help with terraforming, building homes, or who you can just use as cannon fodder in conflicts with other gods. The bigger you make their settlements, the higher the population will be, extending your influence, but also allowing for bigger garrisons of troops. These folks also generate the mana you use for summoning meteors, lightning, or volcanoes. The good thing is, a demo should be available soon, so you will be able to try all this out on Steam. In the campaign, which takes place on maps spread across several different biomes, you will find both friendly and hostile gods and battle against both their powers and their populations. The lone developer has updated his UI and leaderboard system and will do more as he nears release, along with an endless mode and a map editor. Now, as you know, there are many kinds of RTS games, and today many mix their elements, resulting in uncharacteristic gameplay. Like block strategy, for example, because here you have base defense combined with map control by just a few strong units which project your power. The world you play in is auto-generated with a random selection of bosses and events on each map, keeping things interesting. But that world is also made up of blocks, which you can edit yourself and by doing so block off a section of the map, or do the opposite and open up new paths or even tunnels by destroying these blocks. Base building is a main feature, as well as gathering resources necessary for construction or fuel for your reactor. This reactor is part of the main story, in which combat robots made by humans battle for the last habitable planet, and they use the warp reactor to teleport themselves and their buildings. Hopefully the game's demo will be ready soon and a full release later this year. A more traditional but fast-paced RTS with all sorts of units from elementals to swordmen is Counter Clash, which already has a demo available on Steam. It is a game full of environmental hazards, 3 distinct factions, and simplified city building. You'll be happy to learn each of these factions not only have unique troops, but also handcrafted campaigns. There is the Religious Kingdom of Knights, a faction of nomadic sorcerers, and Scientific Republic focused on men and mechs. Counter Clash will let you play on many different maps, but with no multiplayer in the plans, as its developer would rather create a conquest game mode. Its graphics are certainly not going to be demanding due to its simplistic art style, so instead it is you who will be overheating as you attempt to master combat with specific army combinations that will produce unique combos as long as you figure out the deep counter system. A population system seems to be already implemented in Counter Clash, while we have yet to see the specifics of the resource and building systems. It wouldn't be a list of RTS if I didn't show at least one of them set in World War II, so here is Terrors of War, which offers unit combat, base building, resource collection, and even superpowers like an atomic bomb. This footage is from very early development, so let's not judge it too harshly. Its developer wants to create an RTS with supply lines and logistics, meaning the economy seen here is more of a placeholder. A lot of the gameplay even reminds highly of one of our most favorite older RTS, and Terrors of War in its final form should be just as fast and explosive. But it will also add some new things to already recognizable gameplay, like settings for unit formations. There are currently two factions, USA and Germany, but the developer wants to add at least the UK, Japan and Italy too. As for gameplay modes, there will be skirmish, custom scenarios and multiplayer first, and then the campaigns depending on players' interest in the game. Mod support is another planned feature. In the final version of this game, infantry, tanks and airplanes will all add their firepower to medium-sized battlefields, onto which you should be able to use call-in support powers. These could include artillery bombardments, paradrops, recon flights and so on. You are invited to join the Discord and help out the developers with your feedback and ideas, and I have added most Discord channels I could find for all the games on this list down in the description. A futuristic indie RTS, which might be out in early access by the time you're watching this, is Sector YAMA, where humans brave hostile alien planets full of antagonistic creatures. The main characters have been abandoned by their commanders, so they have to fend for themselves while being slowly eliminated by the terrible aliens they came into contact with. Rich story like that is this developer's cornerstone for making Sector YAMA, as is simple controls, fun tactical combat and rewarding exploration. And it is through that exploration that you find more units and allies, resources and special secrets hidden across the planet. What sets this game apart the most is that you find new allied units and try to keep them alive, while they automatically follow your character and help out in combat. It is a very interesting concept that could turn out great or very badly depending on the execution.
A century, cowering within these walls.
Another similarly brave developer is making a small-scale RTS which he calls a dynamic action type of RTS. This is because you control a few medieval characters in an attempt to rebuild civilization one map and one battle at a time. With soldiers, you can't restore once lost, making its name, The Last Crusade, quite fitting. The undead are your enemies, and you can unleash both magic and explosives against them besides just sharp metal and brawn. You get a castle as your main base and set out on expeditions across the land to increase the income you gain from liberated lands across the vast map. Later, you can upgrade your medieval HQ and be able to recruit new and more powerful soldiers to aid in your crusade. Similar to some other games on this list, this one is also in very early stages of development, so give it time and feedback to help it get better. We already saw one game on this list that takes inspiration from that old RTS where you don't directly control units but influence them, and here is one more called Heroes of Orn Darkness, which has a demo on Steam. You have your kingdom and heroes who do or don't do your bidding depending on how well you are able to entice them into combat and exploration. Guard towers will be the only way to more directly defend your base of operations from all sorts of enemies, while other buildings like the marketplace will increase your gold and a blacksmith will let heroes buy new equipment. Other such buildings will provide similar bonuses to your realm or heroes. These heroes will become stronger after successful fights or explorations of the map and its dungeons, and so gain higher stats, additional abilities, and even masteries. These will depend on the hero's class, like Fighter, Scout, Evoker, and Healer. Evoker being another word for mages who deal damage from a distance. Setting quests is the gameplay mechanic you will use to influence and direct those heroes, and gold payouts are rewards for those that do your bidding. Spells are another gameplay mechanic you can directly use, as well as researching upgrades for your kingdom. I have actually found even more upcoming Indie RTS games than this list showcases, like Battlefield Commander World War II or 400 Catapults, as well as others that look like they have some potential, like Ascendance or Collapsed Galaxy 2. But I have yet to have a word with their developers before I go into more details. For more upcoming games, check out the cards on the screen or links in the description. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!